Good morning, YouTube. Thank you for stopping by my channel, The Magical Solution. My name is Leilani. If you're new to my channel, welcome. If you are a loyal subscriber, thank you so much for sticking with me, and I hope you continue to do so. So this is a video that I kind of had been putting off for a little while because it's really personal, and I didn't want... I don't know, I was going back and forth about it, whether or not I should share it, because it's just one of those things where, you know, you guys don't really know me, and I don't know any of you, so to kind of let you in on my world is not easy for me, because I'm a very private person to begin with, you know? But I figured, you know what, this is something that I feel other people can relate to, and if you don't, you know, you win some, you lose some. I can't please everyone, but for the most part, I mean, if one person can relate to the story and help them out, then that's really what it's for. So I said, you know what, let's just do it. So this story was actually inspired. I was inspired to talk about it after doing the discussion with Adisa Speaks. So if you haven't already seen that video, please go back into my video, section and look up the discussion with Adisa Speaks. It's an amazing discussion, and he has a Facebook, and his Facebook group really is very inspiring and very moving, and really helps the spiritual practitioner along. And so I was inspired to do this video, kind of like a testimony, if you will. So in the Adisa Speaks video, we talk about a concept called the Ori. And for those of you who don't know what that is, I'm gonna basically just water it down for you right now, because in the video we talk in depth about it. But basically, in a nutshell, for the Western world, and they're very, in a very, very simplistic kind of way, it basically just means your higher self, right? That highest, all-knowing, old self. The one that has been here a million times before and will continue to be here. The one whom lives within you, that knows everything, both past, present, and future. The thing that guides you. The thing that protects you. And it's within you, right? So it's like your higher self that is within you, that you can access if you choose to, but it's always there, and you're born with it. So my story, what I wanted to talk about was, what happens when you actually listen, or when you don't listen to your higher self, in this process, and what that looks like. So I'm going to give you a scenario, okay? So based on my life, I'm going to change up all the names so that, people do not feel singled out. I'm going to change places and just change a lot of stuff in the story, so that I can keep people's privacy, okay? So I'm in my 30s, and in my early 20s, I had met a man whom I fell in love with, and we were together for almost 8 years. So the majority of my 20s, we were together, okay? Now, during that time that we were together, I was so focused on him that I really put a lot of my own personal needs aside. And I noticed, reflecting back on my relationships when I was young, I did that a lot. I really always put my partner first. I really always put my needs second. I would adopt some of their behaviors and some of their likes and dislikes. I would even adopt some of their way of speaking, you know, like their little slang terms and things like that, because I was so engulfed in them and I was so all about them, and because when I loved, I would put all of myself into that love, to the point where I lost my identity. And I did that with every relationship I was in back when I was a youth, you know, from the moment I was within dating age, so I don't know, 12, 13. It was from that point all the way into my 20s that it was just whenever I was with someone, it was all about them. Okay. Now, those of you who do know my story know that I have been involved in my spirituality and my singing pretty much around the same time, around the age of 7, 8, and 9. Around that time was when I really delved into those two worlds, and it carried with me my whole life. But with this particular ex, I was so engulfed in him because I was in my 20s and I was looking forward to getting married and I was looking forward to starting a family, and I was totally enamored by the idea of having a wedding, you know what I mean? That I put my singing aside, I put my my spiritual stuff aside. Now, don't get me wrong, I still did my magic. Like, I still casted and I still did spell work and I still did my magic. But as far as like really delving deep with my spirits and with my meditations and with my you know, just like the more in-depth stuff that I love to do, the philosophical stuff, the root of the spiritual stuff, I felt like I didn't have time for. I felt like I was just too busy. And that's not his fault. I'm not blaming any of this on my ex. I'm just simply saying that this is how I was when I was young, that I put all of that aside. And it wasn't until, I want to say, midway through our relationship, not even, like towards the last maybe 3 years of the relationship, I really, really started missing what I did. Like, I started having regrets about not singing and not going deeper into my spirituality. And I mean, especially with the singing, like, it got to the point where I had given myself a phobia because I hadn't sang in so long. And anytime I would see someone like doing karaoke at a karaoke bar, or I would see, I don't know, those singing competitions on TV, you know, American Idol and all that, I would just start bawling. Like, I would start crying, because I could do that. I knew I could do that, and I wasn't, and that bothered me, you know. And for me, you know, I'm a Virgo, I'm all or nothing. Like, to me, singing in the shower and singing in the car, that wasn't enough for me. Like, I needed to be on stage. I needed to have the spotlight on me. I needed to hear the applause. I needed to feel the screams and the emotions from the audience. Like, I needed that. Like, it fed me, you know? And the fact that I didn't have that was devastating. Same thing with the spirituality. You know, spell casting, doing magic. You know, I have a natural knack. I have a gift for just, if I need to work something, I can go to the kitchen, boom, 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 throw it all together, boom, 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 light the candle, do this, do that, work it for 7 days, bam, I'm done. And it'll manifest like nobody's business. I had a natural knack for that, and I still do, but it wasn't enough for me. I craved the relationship with the spirits. I craved much more deeper connection to my spirituality, and I wasn't doing it. And it started to surface towards the last 3 years of my relationship. It really started to rise up in me, and this angst and this nervousness and this anger and this resentment and this guilt, all this stuff started bubbling up to the surface. And I'm like, I need to do something with my life, right? Then we get engaged. Woo! And now I'm refocused, right? So 6 years into the relationship, boom, we finally get engaged, and I'm refocused now. I'm like, okay, it's time to focus on planning a wedding. And, you know, I'm planning, I'm spending money left and right. I bought the wedding dress. I sent out the reservation tickets, the reservation invites. I had got a caterer. I had put a down payment on the reception and the ceremonial, you know, places that we were gonna do. Everything was just on the move, and it was happening, right? So now, while this is happening, that angst and that nervousness and that desire to reconnect to both my singing and my music went away, but it started manifesting in my dreams now. So now I'm getting nightmares. Now I'm waking up in cold sweats. Now I am having what is called prophetic dreams, you know, dreams that I feel are happening, that are coming true, that are real, and I'm not getting any validation from it. I don't have anyone around me who's spiritual who can validate me at the time. Because again, you know, me and my ex were living in this beautiful house away from everybody in the countryside. Well, not really the country. I mean, it was still like an urban area, but I was away from family and friends. You know, I was more closer to his family and friends. And he was an agnostic. So his thing was, I don't know, I don't really, you know, just do what you do. I don't really know. I don't really believe in it. But, you know, do what you do. Although he believed in it when stuff manifested for him, but okay, I'm not going to get into that. But for the most part, it was just like there was no validation there for me. And that bothered me. That really bothered me. So, you know, a year went by. We're 7 years in now. A year is almost past, and we're edging closer to the wedding date. And then he gets a phone call from his, or an email from his job that says, hey, we need to send you, we would like to send you to another state. And I'm not going to reveal what his job was, but basically it involved doing kind of like a catastrophe relief, you know, during the time when they had that big issue in, I forget what had happened. Man, it was so long ago. It was 6 years ago, 6 or 7 years ago. I want to say Katrina. I want to say it was one of those big, it was like one of those big catastrophes that happened down south. And his job was like, look, we'll give you X amount of money. In addition to your regular paycheck, we'll give you X amount of money. And it was a lot of money. Okay, it was a lot of money. To go down there and do some catastrophe relief for 2 weeks. We're going to send you, we're going to pay for everything. Everything's going to get paid for. You're going to get a nice big fat bonus. And just 2 weeks. So he was like, Leilani, should I do it? I said, yes. That's a lot of freaking money, right? And like, that could help pay for a lot more other stuff for our wedding. It could help pay for our honeymoon. It could help pay for stuff. Yes, go. Now, mind you, he had done this before with another catastrophe that had happened, you know, like the year before. And everything worked out fine, and we got a nice little lump, you know, a nice little check, and it really helped us out. And we were able to put a down payment on a rental property, and we became landlords of like a rental property and stuff. So I mean, like, we were like building like our little mini empire, and it was starting to happen quickly. So I was like, yeah, go. So, but there was something within him where he was like, I don't feel right about this. Like, I don't want to go. I was like, look, you have done this before. This is not a big deal. It's just some extra cash. It's just 2 weeks. I'm going to be here when you get back, and we're going to make this happen. Then we'll get married. So I remember driving him to the airport, and he was so nervous, and he was so not feeling right about it. He was just like, I don't want to go. I feel like something bad is going to happen. Like, I don't want to go. And I'm like, babe, you already got your ticket. We're here. We're at the airport. Your luggage is in the back seat. Like, we can't just back out of this now. You already told your boss yes. They're expecting you down there. Like, you what's going on with you? And he's like, I don't know. I just have this weird feeling in the pit of my stomach, and I don't want to go. So I gave him a kiss. I convinced him. I gave him a kiss, and he left. So I drive back home, and I open up my door into my house, and It was pure silence. And it was a silence that was so welcoming. Like, it was like, you know what I mean? And I remember coming home and immediately going into my spiritual room, because I had my own spiritual room and my own like spell room, and I just began meditating, and I just went in for hours. Like, I forgot to eat, I forgot to go to the bathroom, I just lost track of time. And that night, you know, I started to go online and I started talking to all my friends, like on Facebook and stuff like that. And I had met someone who lived in Lebanon online who was Muslim. Now, mind you, I had studied world religion and I knew about world religions. And I was very familiar with Islam. And we ended up having a nice conversation. And then from that point, for like 4 or 5 days, the first 4 or 5 days of being alone, that's what I did, was I spoke to this person. And we opened up the Quran together, and we spoke about the Quran together, and we talked about things, and we argued and debated about concepts in the Quran, and we really went into like all kinds of stuff. And it was so inspirational, and it fed my soul again. Like, it reminded me why I loved my spirituality so much. Like, it just brought me in. And then I lost track with that friend. I don't know what happened. I just stopped talking to him for whatever the reason. And I continued with my meditations, right? And I just kept doing what I was doing. Now, meanwhile, you know, I'm trying to plan this wedding, but at the same time, there's like no urgency anymore. Like, I didn't feel the need to plan the wedding anymore. So now, about 5 days in, during one of my meditations, just a voice, an inner voice inside my head says to me, Leilani, you gotta go. You're not supposed to be here. You're not supposed to be doing this. You have to go. And I was like, what? Leilani, you have to go. You're not supposed to be here. You're not supposed to be doing this. You have to go. Now, of course, I mean, the intuitive voice, this voice that I felt within me, it wasn't an audible voice that I heard outside of myself. Obviously, I wasn't hallucinating. But it was an internal voice that sounded very similar to my voice. And it was within me, and it was more intuitive. It was a voice that I knew what it was saying, okay? And I ignored it. I was like, no, Leilani, girl, you cannot be... I said to myself, I was like, no, girl, you cannot be listening to every whim that happens in your mind. Like, you can't do that, you know? You're getting nervous, you're approaching your wedding day, you're getting the bride jitters. Like, don't stress it. Like, just stop, you know? So I did. I ignored it. Then the next day, all day, Leilani, you're not supposed to be here. You're not supposed to be doing this. You need to go. All day. Then all night. Then it was in my dreams. I couldn't get away from this sentence. It just kept berating me. So now I'm like, okay, I need to get a second opinion. So I called my mother, I called my three best friends, I called everyone, and they all said the same thing. Leilani, you're just getting the wedding jitters. Don't be a runaway bride, girl. Don't be silly. Just get your head together and do what you gotta do. And I was like, no, there's something going on, because I know myself. I know when I'm scared of something. I know when I'm running away from something. I know. Because there's a guilt associated with it. There's like stuff that's associated with that feeling of knowing that I'm running away from something. There's no guilt about this at all. This is an affirmative, clear action that I need to be taking, and it's a clear statement that I'm saying to myself that I believe wholeheartedly to be a fact. That is different, and that's something that I've never experienced before. Like, what the hell, you know? And everyone's like, no, girl, no. So I kept ignoring it, right? So then we get into the midway of the second week, okay? Only a couple more days before my ex comes back. And I'm convinced. I'm like, I gotta go. I have to go. And it was the weirdest thing, because the minute I admitted it, the minute that I said, I gotta go, all of a sudden, it was like my mind blanked out and I went on autopilot. Boom, I got a new apartment. Boom, I used the money. I refunded all the money back from all the places that I had put money towards the wedding. Got it, most of it at least. Boom, 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 got my money back. Put that money towards my new apartment. Put that money towards my car. Put that money towards new furniture. Put that money towards getting a moving van to move everything out. Mobilized all of my friends and family to come and get all my shit out of the house that I was living in and move it to my new place. All this, boom, 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 in a matter of 2 days. 2 days. Autopilot. I didn't see anything. I didn't feel anything. I didn't know anything. All I knew was I had to get out. It was like this sense of urgency. It was this urgency, like as if I was escaping a freaking concentration camp or something. But that wasn't the case. It wasn't. I'll get into that in a second. But it was like boom, 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 right? So I get there. So I'm done, mostly done. I have like a few more things I still have to do. And the day has come to pick him up from the airport. Meanwhile, I had said nothing to this guy because I literally didn't know what to say. And I hadn't figured out what to say yet. I didn't know what to say. So, and I still didn't know what to say when I went to the airport to go pick him up. So I pick him up at the airport. The drive home was quiet because I'm trying my best to figure out how the heck I'm going to explain any of this, right? So we get to the house, and he knew something was up, obviously, because I was quiet. I didn't jump all over him and get all like super excited when he got off the airplane, like none of that stuff. And we get home, and he's like, okay, what's going on? Like, what is happening? And I sit him down on the couch and I tell him everything that happened. But I mean, I couldn't blame him for not believing me. I mean, what if the shoe was on the other foot, okay, and my man left me because some voice in his head told him to, or because he thinks God spoke to him? Yeah, I would think he was cheating on me too. I would think that he was full of shit and was cheating on me and was trying to run away from the wedding. I would have thought that too. And I'm pretty sure that's what he thought. He questioned everything, you know. Do you not love me anymore? Are you running away from me for the wedding? Is there another guy? I mean, everything under the book he asked. And I was like, no to all of it. Oh, no to all of it. And I was like, I literally have no idea what I'm doing. All I know is I'm not supposed to be doing this, and I'm not supposed to be here. I don't know if that means not being with you. I don't know if that means not being in this house or relation. I don't know what any of it means. All I know is that I gotta take myself out of this place, put myself somewhere else so I can figure it out, because I don't know. And that is a tough freaking horse pill to swallow. That is a tough thing to swallow. And it was heartbreaking because he didn't do anything wrong. He didn't do anything wrong. And I had nothing. Let me tell you, I had nothing to go to. My situation with him, I had a beautiful Victorian house with 3 bedrooms and my own altar room, my own library and tea room, a beautiful, beautiful remodeled kitchen, all to my taste and like. I picked out the paint, I picked out the counters, I picked out the cabinet, I picked out everything to the way I wanted my kitchen to look. Okay? Everything. That house was my dream house. And we had that. And I'm literally walking away from it and him to nothingness, to the unknown, to the abyss. No clue what was going to happen to me or my life or anything. And it was scary and terrifying. But I was so confident in my decision. I was so sure that this is what I needed to do. I had never been more confident. And I didn't know how to explain that to him without making him feel bad, without making him feel like I'm running away from him. So, obviously there was crying, there was trying to negotiate, there was trying to work things out in the conversation, and I was holding steady to what I believed was true. And I left. So now we fast forward a year. And I had a year of nothing happening. The voice was gone. There was no other further instructions. And I'm like, what the F am I supposed to do now? Where's this voice? Where is this intuition? Where is this thing that is supposed to tell me what to do? And it was gone. And I fell into a deep, deep, deep depression. Deeper than I've ever felt in my life, okay? I stopped eating. I stopped sleeping. I got so sick. I got so skinny. All of my friends were so worried about me. Some of them would come to my house and stay with me for a couple days at a time to make sure that I was eating something, to make sure that I wasn't alone. I was basically on suicide watch. Even though I wasn't suicidal, but I was on suicide watch. People were with me all the time because they were so worried. My parents wanted me to come back home. I didn't want to come back home. It was the darkest time of my life. I was so down that I ended up losing my job. I ended up losing my apartment because I couldn't afford to live in it anymore. And I had to go back with my parents, which is depressing. It's very depressing to be, almost 30. Like I'm right there, almost 30, and I'm about to move back with my parents. And I remember going back to my ex and saying, you know what? I guess I was wrong. I don't know what happened. Everything didn't go the way I thought it was going to go. I want to come home. And he did me the biggest favor. Number one, he had other women there already. So he had already moved on. But he did me the biggest favor. He said to me, he goes, Leilani, you left me for a reason. You have to give it time. But you got to find out what that reason is. Don't come back till you find the reason. And I said, okay. Now mind you, that didn't stop me from trying to go back to him. Like, I kept trying and kept trying and kept trying. And when I realized that he had moved on and was, sleeping with one of the tenants in the apartment that we had landlorded together, that's when I realized, you know what? I'm not going to chase someone who doesn't want me back. Like, I know he's hurt, and I know that it's going to take him time to get over things, but he seems to be okay now. And there's no reciprocation of that love anymore. So I gave up, and I threw away the house key to the house, and I stopped trying. Now, mind you, there was other stuff in that had happened, like I tried to get him jewelry, and I tried to do this, and I tried to win my way back with him, and it didn't work out. And the minute that I did that, the minute that I threw away the key to the house that I was living in with him, the minute I threw that away, all of a sudden, this weight, like a person was sitting on my back, lifted. and I could sit up straight again. I mean, I didn't even realize that I was slouching until I threw away the key. And when that happened, a weight lifted, and the voice didn't come back, but that the autopilot thing came back. And all of a sudden, it was like I was in spider vision, and I was in that zone again. And now I'm just on the move. So now I'm driving over back to the apartment. I'm getting all my music stuff together. I found another job. I had met a person at the job who connected me to a musical vocal coach. I went to that vocal coach. I began singing again. The singing began to just crack open my chakras. Boom, boom, boom. Like all this feeling, all this stuff started coming out. And this singing coach, I swear to God, bless him. His name is Joseph Conrad. I love him. He's in New York City. I will recommend him to everyone. He was more than just a vocal coach for me. He was a therapist in a way. And he cracked me open. He was like, Leilani, you got to sing through the crying. You got to sing through it. Because, I mean, I would get so emotional that I couldn't even sing. I just would start crying because the words of whatever song I was singing would just hit me in all these different places. And I couldn't control it because my chakras, like everything was just breaking open. I was having a spiritual meltdown. And he was like, sing through it. You got to sing through it. You got to hold that note. Find a way to hold that note and sing through it. And we worked and we worked and we worked. And I started getting more confident and more confident and more confident. And then I went to my first open mic. And I met people there. And bam. And it just started becoming like a roller coaster. And next thing you know, I find a band. I'm in a band. Boom. Roller coaster. Next thing you know, I find an even better job of my dream, which is like teaching. I love to teach. So bam, that started happening. Boom, boom, right? So now all this great stuff is happening and I'm starting to smile more and more every day and things are happening and I'm dating again and I'm, and it's just beautiful, right? And then all of a sudden, a mutual friend of me and my ex comes out of nowhere to ask for my help for some spiritual work. Because she knew that I was back in the game again. She knew I was back on my spiritual grind again, and I'm making my products, and I'm making my spell work, and I'm doing things for people, and blah, blah, blah. So this mutual friend comes out to ask for my services, and during that time, this mutual friend says to me, Leilani, I've been wanting to tell you this for years, but I didn't know how because you were so in love with your ex. Like you were so in love with him. You didn't see anything else. And I didn't think that I could ever talk to you about this. She's like, but now that everything's all said and done and you're happy and you're in a good place and you're clear-headed, I want to talk to you. And I said, okay.